What's up, y'all? So, back to it. It's been a minute. My bad. So, summer '06 was wild. At this time, the only people who knew how to take care of me, I feel like I should break down um, all the people that learned how to take care of me and how I kind of met them. Still not going to say any names if possible, um, because I don't know if they want their names out there, their story out there. Some of these people I don't really talk to like that, or I mean, because everybody's doing their own thing, and I didn't reach out to them and get permissions and stuff like that. Anyways, so in the summer of '06, at this time, besides, like I already told you guys, my cousin and um, my mom, basically, that's kind of it. So when this dude was my is my best he's his best friend. So when my best friend back then in '06, when he learned how to take care of me that day, like I said, and he started taking me out, we were everywhere. I was always staying the night at his house, and his like I said, his brother learned how to take care of me too. So I was with one or the other. And when the summer came, is when I wasn't in school anymore, so we had a lot of times on our hands. And besides the Mexican Fest and the Puerto Rican Fest, we were everywhere. Even with my sickness, because I don't do good in the heat. So, but when I was with him, we would know what to do. He would know what to do, and whenever he would introduce me to people, he would tell them what to do. And so I feel like the first person who learned how to take care of me after him was this little dude. This guy was, man, maybe when I even first met him, he was probably like 9 years old in the ghetto, in the hood. His brother, I think, knew the people that they were hanging around with at that time. And because the guy he was with was living upstairs from a friend of mine who him and his brother were affiliated with the gang. And upstairs from them was this dude who was from another city, and he was able to chill with everybody who wasn't from the opposite gangs, of course. But anyways, he was cool with this young guy and his brother, I believe. And I remember hanging out with going there before my accident. And when I met this young guy, he was a kid, man. Of course, I'm a kid too, but I think I was maybe 12 years old when I met him. And again, he was maybe 9, 10. Uh, so when I met him, he got on my nerves. He just had a mouth on him. Yo, um, he just had a bad mouth on him. And it just got on my nerves when I first met this kid, because I remember I wasn't the type, how certain gang members, if you disrespected them, they'll hit you, you know what I mean, just punch you and just fight you, you know what I mean. I did have to fight with certain people, like my peers and stuff. We always played boxed, or you know what I mean. And it was annoying, I ain't gonna lie, because only certain people would always want to mess around and fight. And I would still hang out with them because I didn't want them to think I was no punk, and I didn't want them to tell, any of the guys I was hanging around with at the time, because I didn't want them thinking I was a punk, because I didn't want to get punked by any. Because if you act like a punk, you get treated like a punk. But if you show, you're a man who stands his guard, they don't really mess with you because they know they can't get over on you or pick on you, and that's why I think gangs are stupid. Not everybody was like that, you know what I mean? But for those that were like that, you had to be a certain way. So, anyways, um, me and this guy, oh my gosh, when I met him, he was going off at the mouth, just going off at the mouth. And I'm like, yo, kid, you don't know me. You know what I mean? Like, don't talk to me like that. And he basically was like, well, what are you going to do about it? And I wanted to punch this kid so bad. And sure enough, I know I said I wasn't like that, but and then he was so young, I knew he had to be like 9, 10 years old. I never asked him how young he was when I first met him, but So his brother wasn't really affiliated with the gangs. You know what I mean? His brother was just a cool guy who just hung out with anybody, you know. So his brother was just hanging around with the guy upstairs. I don't know how they met, but so this young dude, um, before I met him through my best friend who was taking care of me when in '06 when I first got injured. Um, so this guy, he's just talking smack, and I go, yo, bro, I'm gonna punch you if you don't shut up. And he squats up with me, you know what I mean? This young guy at 9 years old, and I go, oh my god, I'm about to kill this kid. And sure enough, because he's a young kid, and I squatted up with him, you know, not to jump before my accident. But anyways, just because I want to give you a picture of who this kid is, you know, and the reason why I'm calling him a kid, no disrespect to him, is because he was he was very younger than us, you know, 3, 4 years younger than us, if I'm not mistaken. So, but so hood, so gangster, you know what I mean? Not a scared bone in this man's body. And he goes, you know, what are you gonna do about it? And when I get ready to punch him, you know, one of the guys that I always have to fight with on a daily basis, you know what I mean? Because we used to like to play box. Um, you know, and the other guy that we were chilling with, especially too, he goes, yo, if you're gonna fight this dude, you're gonna have to fight me or him. And if y'all know the dude we were chilling with, that's from another city, you know, another gang. I think he was a GD or something. So this GD dude was like, yo, bro, if you're gonna fight this kid, you're gonna fight one of us because that's not right. You know, he's young, he's a kid. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be fighting no kid. And I was like, I'm not trying to fight him. I'm trying to like shut him up. Like he won't shut up. And that's when they're like, exactly, bro. Like, you know what I mean? You can't do that. And I'm like, oh my god. And if I'm not mistaken, I end up having to fight with my boy. I fought with this dude every day, though. You know what I mean? We always play box, you know, body shots or whatever the case. So, anyways, oh, I hated this kid because of that. I'm like, yo, because of you, I had to fight the homie. You know what I mean? Or I had to almost fight the GD dude because the GD dude was swole. You know what I mean? And he was like 17, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm like, nigga, that's not fair. You know what I mean? Not to use that language, my bad. But I'm like, that's not fair. You know what I mean? You're all swole and stuff. And my other homie, he was a little hefty, you know what I mean? But he was my age, you know, he was 13, if not maybe a few months older, 14, but still, it was only a few months. So, anyways, I didn't feel comfortable fighting the homie. You know what I mean? I'm like, you're swole. He was fast. You know what I mean? He was always like, you know, joking with people, you know? So, and then I found out he was a GD from Gary, and Gary, Indiana is way more hood than I feel like is no disrespect to my hood, but when I went to Gary, Indiana, that's a story for another day. So, anyways, in '06, when my friend, um, when he learned how to take care of me, we had went to the hood, and it was one of the saddest things that could happen because I would always beg people not to join, which made no sense because I'm affiliated with this gang. But I never wanted people to join this gang because I knew the truth behind it. You know what I mean? When I was in the hospital, these guys who called themselves my peers and my homies, I mean, granted, like I explained in an earlier video, my immediate friends were too young to come. The only way they were able to come is if their moms brought them. So I really don't blame them because I was in Chicago, deep in Chicago, and it was like 45 minutes on a good day, no traffic, you know what I mean, to an hour and a half with bad traffic to 2 hours if it's real bad and it's snowing or something. So, anyways, you know, the older guys, they had cars, you know what I mean, and they could have drove down there. You know, they know how to get around. They knew people in the city that they dealt with and did things with, you know what I mean. So for the older guys to only come once, but I'm supposed to be their little homie. Like, what's up with that? So I knew, and my brother, he tried to keep me away. My brother would always tell me, like, you know, even though, anyways, my brother would explain to me, like, you know, my friends, because he knew most of these guys before, you know, the gang, you know, this gang became about. So, anyways, he would always tell me, like, hey, man, don't hang around these people. You know what I mean? These people aren't really who they say they are, you know what I mean? And I should have listened. But anyway, so I told my friends the same speech, but most of them, if not all of them, didn't listen. Anyways, back to it. So I remember we're going to the hood, you know, and my best friend, he lived right by the hood, you know what I mean? Because the hood where I'm from, I mean, it's all a hood actually, but like there's certain areas that are way worse than other areas. And where our hood was 139th, and it's this long road, but there's certain blocks that a lot of us lived on. And my friend didn't live too far from the area, you know, and he was on if like 42nd, if not. And then not only was he on 42nd, so there was this long road that was all ours, and then not only our, but there was certain blocks that was ours, and that there was more of us on that lived there. So he did not live far away from the blocks that most of these people lived. So when I started staying the night at his house in the summer, um, I'll be like, "Yo, bro, let's go meet. You know, I can introduce you to so and so and to so and so. You know," and I was only going to introduce him to my intermediate circle. You know, the people that were close to my age, the guys that I trusted. You know what I mean? Even though I didn't want him to join. And so, anyways, when we went there, um, I don't really. I think that young man was there chilling with somebody still. Because I remember meeting him, and my best friend knew him. My best friend, he knew everybody that I knew before, and before I knew that. What I mean is, like when me and him first met, this guy and me were so much alike. You know what I mean? Same name, both handsome. You know what I mean? Both got girls. Anyways, so and when I started meeting people, and he'd be like, "Oh, I know him," you know, and I mean, me and him hang out, you know, and actually knew these people. And I was like, "Man, it's crazy how I'd never met you until like," because if I'm not mistaken, I met this guy like maybe a few months before my accident, and I met his brother too before my accident. And oh my gosh, I should tell that story too because I'm telling basically how I met everybody. So his brother, uh, I was chilling with this back, not to go before my accident again, but I should give you guys a little bit of insight on my before my accident. So anyways, before my accident, when I was starting to be affiliated, around these gang members, you can't be looked at as a punk, anytime at any day. If they find out, again, like I said, you'll get punked, you know what I mean? So I don't care who I was with, where I was, any situation. I try not to act like a punk, and I try not to let people punk me. So, or I was never bullied, I try to protect people from bullies, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, so I remember going to my mom had chilled with my aunt's friend, and this lady had a young son. This kid was maybe like 4 or 5. And so, and he was cool. He knew how to play video games and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So when I met the little guy, my mom knew this woman her whole life, most of her life, because my aunt and her were best friends and they grew up together. So, and they lived in the hood, not too far from where I lived. So we would go hang out with them, sometimes my mom would want to drink with her. So when we were chilling with this woman and they're drinking, she, like always tells me to go hang out with her son to go play the video games or whatnot. So I go in to go play video games with the young dude. And, we always play video games, but this day he had another dude there. And, which wasn't weird because he hung out with me. And at that time I was like 11, 12, at least. So, anyways, when this dude was there, and man, my best friend and his brother are freaking freaks of natures. Like they've always been. I don't know what their body looks like now. You know what I mean? Now I'm not gay, but man, these dudes always had muscles, freaking 6 packs. You know what I mean? So if it was nice outside, they always had their freaking little shirt off. And I hated it, you know what I mean? Because I was able to get girls, when I would talk and when they would see me with my face, you know what I mean? But I didn't have no little body, I was a little husky before my accident. Always kind of have been, and it's kind of harder now because of my disability. But anyway, so when I met this dude, they're playing like dodgeball or something. They're playing with a ball. And you know what I mean? They're just throwing it at each, hitting each other and stuff like that. So when I step into the room, I explain myself. I go, hey, that's cool that you're, because the kid threw the ball at me, the young kid, the 5-year-old. And when he threw the ball at me, I threw it back at him, and then he threw it at the young, the homie that was my age, my best friend, my other best friend. He's my best friend too. So anyway, so before I met this guy after my accident, no, I met him again, and that's how a few months before my accident, we all became very, very close. So anyways, so they're playing with a ball, and this dude, he throws the ball at me, and I'm like, yo, bro, I'm playing with this kid. I'm not playing with you. You know what I mean? Like, don't throw the ball at me. So I grab the ball, I throw it back at the kid, and then the kid throws it back at the homie, and then the dude throws it back at me again. So I grab the ball and I go, bro, you think I'm playing, bro? Like, I told you not to throw the ball at me. And he jumps up off the bed like, yo, I don't know who you talking to, man. We're all just playing, da-da-da. And I'm like, yo, I'm playing with this kid. I ain't playing with you. I don't know you. And then that's when he was like, well, what you going to do about it? And I swear, as soon as we squad up, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking we're about to fight. Um, my mom and her best friend go, it's time to go. And so when it was time to go, I'm scared of my mom. So I'm like, yo, I'm not going to fight this dude then. You know what I mean? Because if I start fighting him, my mom's going to come in here and probably beat me up. You know what I mean? And I don't want to go through that. So anyways, so I go, yo, bro, you're lucky. You know what I mean? And of course, he says it to me too. Of course, you know how that goes. You're lucky, whatever. So we get in the car. Yo, man. So it's me, my mom, of course, and her best friend's driving, and the little kid we were just playing with, and the guy, who later is my best friend. So I felt somebody hit me in my leg. And when I felt somebody hit me in my leg, I was like, what the heck was that? Yo, that's when I realized this dude's hitting me in my leg. So I go, yo, bro, don't be hitting me, bro. And he goes, what are you going to do about it? You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do about it? And I'm in the car. So we're just going back and forth, hitting each other in the leg. Just boom, 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 boom. Dumbest stuff. And then we pull up to drop him off, and I guess that's what the whole situation was I guess he was just there. I don't know if she was babysitting him or whatnot, you know what I mean? Anyway, so as we're pulling up, I guess we pulled up to his grandparents' house. And yo, his face, his demeanor changes instantly. Like, and in my mind, I'm like, the heck, he was just acting all tough, just punching me in my leg. Like, why you get all scared for? And then when the lady says it, like, hey, we're here to, we're at your grandparents' house. And he looks at me and gets all scared. I go, oh, he thinks I'm going to do something like to the grandparents. That's the one thing I liked about the people I was affiliated with, because unlike most gangs, we didn't shoot at people's houses. You know what I mean? Like, you weren't able to shoot at people's houses from when I was around. You know what I mean? Like, unless the person's coming out of their house and then there's no women and children around them, you know what I mean? You have to see the person. You can't just look in the window and see the person. They had to be in front of all. If they were out in front of their door, and like I said, you see them clearly, and you don't see nobody behind them, no children, no woman. But for the most part, we didn't condone women and children. From what I remember, you know what I mean. Anyway, so when he realized that we're pulling up to his grandparents' house, I'm like, oh, in my mind, he thinks, and like a douche, I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna tell him. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say nothing, and I'm gonna keep mugging him, like, and make him think up. But God no. So never would that. And I look at him like, yeah, I know where your grandparents live, homie. I know where you live. I don't say that, but I'm giving him that look, and he's looking at me like, oh man, you know what I mean? Like yeah, not that he was scared of me, he was just worried for his grandparents. And but anyway, so um and how I met Joseph, it was like at a party. Oh man, how I met my best friend. We had the same name, so I say it all the time. Anyway, so how I met my best friend, and my bad, I might have to wrap it up, and then I'll get back to how I met this little dude. And the first time was I almost fought him, like I said, when he was maybe 9 and I'm 12, 13, 11, 12. And so because my best friend, you know what I mean, the one I just let the name slip, was bringing me to the hood, and I'm seeing all these guys one by one. So, but anyways, how I met my best friend. So I remember dating a few girls and them calling me by my first name, and I don't like my first name. I'm Joey by everybody, and so when I would be called this first name, I'm like, yo, and after the second and third time, I remember I knew it wasn't a coincidence. So I asked, I said, yo, who is this like character? Like, I mean, not character. Who is this man? Is there a man with the same name as me or something? Because I know you guys, this is the third time, a third different person or second, I don't know. But it was for sure one or two, a couple, because after a few times, it had to be three. Anyway, so I remember this person goes, well, you really want to know? And I go, well, yeah, is there another dude with the same name or something? Because this is not a coincidence. I know it has to be. And I remember she goes, yeah. And I go, what? And she goes, yeah, there's somebody with the same name as you, but unlike you, he doesn't go by your that short nickname. He goes by his full name, his real name. And I was like, there is a dude with the same name as me, and he's good looking and whatnot, or what? And they go, I'm telling you, like, I hang around him, I'm around him, and I forget that it's him and not you. You guys got the same name, both good looking, fun, blah blah blah. So, anyways, I remember being at a party, if I'm not mistaken, or something in that case, and I'm talking with this dude, and this, if I ever feel like I don't really remember something, then I'll say that. And this one, I'm not too sure, but I'm pretty sure this is how I met this guy. And I'm like, what? So, anyways, I'm at this party, and this girl walks in, and if it was not me or him, it was one of the two, like, hey, you know her, trying to sound cool. Most guys don't brag about, what I mean, where I'm from, like, oh, that girl right there, I got with her, you know what I mean? I made out with her last night. Like, when you're best friends with somebody and you get with a girl, you don't really talk about it. If you brag about it, people are like, you don't get it a lot or something. But for some reason, this day, this girl walks in, and I don't know if it was me and him or, but I remember one of the two was like, hey, man, you know her? We didn't say what we did. And, the other person was like, yeah, I know her. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm just seeing if you know her, whatnot, da, da, da. The next one comes, and after whoever started it, that's when, we were going back and forth now. So this other one walks in, and, one of the two goes, hey, you know her? Anyways, after the third one, it was me for sure. I go, yo, who are you? I don't know why. It just clicked in my head. I go, yo, I bet you this is him. You know what I mean? And I go, yo, bro, who are you? What's your name? And he looks at me and smiles. You know what I mean? And he goes, my name is da-da-da. And I go, you're dude, so-and-so? And he looks at me and goes, what? Who are you? And I tell him my name, and he goes, what? You're so-and-so. And I go, you know me, bro? The same way, he just said it. And I was like, what the heck? And then that's when, it all came. He goes, bro, I chill with, again. Yeah, he goes, bro, I chill with this one and that one. And, finally I'm like, yo, because they call me this nickname, and nobody calls me that. You know what I mean? Like, I know that that's short for my name, but I don't go by that. You know what I mean? I go by my first name, my government name. Hey, I guess he just loved his name. I did not feel like I'm in trouble when I hear my first name because of my mom. I'm traumatized. But anyway, so yeah, I'm definitely going to wrap it up after this, and then I'll get back to how I met the homie. My best friend was pushing me to the hood. Anyway, so I go, what? you have the same, you have the same name and you da-da-da, and they accidentally called you my name. And I go, bro, the same thing, bro. Like that girl and that girl, you know what I mean? And then and they were all at the party, It's a small area where I'm from. Everybody knows everybody. So I'll never forget. And his brother walks in. If I'm not mistaken, this is how, all three of us became cool that day. His brother walks in, and when his brother walks in, me and this dude are, on some cool stuff. I'm like, wow, what are the odds? Like, same name, kind of, yes, same name, except he goes by his and I go by mine. He's good looking, you know what I mean? Like, wow, we know some of the same women, what are the odds? So, anyways, we're at this party, we're enjoying ourselves. His brother walks in. I didn't know it was his brother at the time, and he doesn't tell me either. So this dude walks in, and I go, man, I don't like this dude. Me and him are becoming close, so I thought I could trust him with this. So anyways, and he looks at me. He goes, you don't like that dude? And I go, nah, man, I don't like that dude. And then he walks in and sees me, the guy. So when he sees me, he goes, oh, what's up, homie? You know what I mean? Like, we don't need a ball now, like, you know what I mean? And your mom's not here to save you, and da da da, and our mutual friend, this and that. And he goes, meet me in the alley. And I go, what? And party, when they hear that, they go, so they're all excited, what I'm saying? And in my mind, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna fight this dude, even he's swole though, you know what I mean? And I ain't gonna lie, I was a little nervous, because everybody I fought, I didn't fight that much at that time, and the people I did fight were not that swole, you know what I mean? He was swole. Anyway, and the people I mostly fought were my homies, you know what I mean? I didn't really get into a fight with the other gang members before my accident, They just didn't run up on me or nothing like that. Or, I would see these guys and they wouldn't fight me and I wouldn't fight them, Anyways, so I'm looking at this dude, he's swole, I'm like, budge, you know what I mean? But I've been drinking, if I'm not mistaken. And anyway, so yeah, we go to the alley, the crowd surrounds us like how they usually do. And I'm noticing that the guy I'm just talking to is like, hey, man, like, he stops really talking to me. And then when I go outside, I'm noticing he's standing in the middle of us, because he was right by me when we started walking out. And he's not saying nothing, though. When we get to the alley, I walk farther up, because I forgot how, because he was in front of me. But anyway, so when we get to the alley, I walk a little more away, and then, the guy is over there. And then that's when I noticed the dude I was just talking to joins him. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then that's when the dude goes, hey, hold my shirt. And he's making the dude I was just talking to hold everything. And I'm like, are they best friends or something? Like, what? Like, dang, they know each other. Like, dang, you know what I mean? And then that's when, the dude I was just talking to was like, hey, man, I don't know if I could let y'all fight, And I was like, what's that mean, And he goes, this is my brother. And I was like, oh, man. And I heard about them. I heard about the brothers, and I heard that when one of them is fighting. And I don't judge them for that. I don't think they were jumping people on purpose, but I heard they are good fighters. But I heard that if one started getting, which was very rare because these dudes could fight. Anyways, I heard about these dudes that if one starts to lose, that the other one would jump in, you know what I mean? But the other guys would always have friends with them too. These guys just can't look at their brother being, more beat up. So when these dudes told me who they were, I go, oh man, I might have to fight both of them. And I knew I wasn't gonna back down. So when dude said, I'm not gonna let you fight him, this is my brother, I thought he meant like, are you gonna fight me too? And I was like, dang, we were just having fun, good conversations now. And then I'm looking at him and he's swole too. I'm like, oh man, I'm about to die. You know what I mean? But I'm not backing down. So anyways, I'm taking off my shirt. Like, well, then I'm gonna fight both of y'all. My bad. This is probably gonna be my longest video. Anyways, and he goes, man, I can't let you fight the dude. So what if he apologizes to you? And I was like, what? Because where I'm from, men don't really say sorry. And that's when I always thought he was the younger brother until I found, or the older brother. Anyways, and he was, guys, if I make you say sorry, would you forgive him? Because that was dumb. He hit you with the ball first. He asked what happened, and we told him, he's the man I hit with the ball, this and that. So he goes, bro, say sorry to him. He's cool. And if he says, will you say sorry back? And I go, Sure. You know, in my mind, I was like, I want to get beat up by you too in front of this party, man. Like, you are cool. You know what I mean? So, anyways, dude says sorry, and then I was like, I'm sorry, you were being ignorant. You know what I mean, or something like that. I forgot, but that's how I met these dudes. And tomorrow or next time, you know what I mean? It's probably going to be sometime this week because I'm taking off this week from doing everything, so I can start telling more stuff. So, thank you for anybody who's listening. Sorry this was so long. I hope it wasn't boring to keep you guys entertained. Whoever's listening, you know, I don't care if it's just one person, no people, because I hope that this becomes something at some point, because I know it's a crazy story, you know what I mean? And if nothing, I know I can help one person with it. And that would mean the world to me to really save somebody who, I don't know. Anyway, so thank you for listening, whoever's listening. My bad, it's been a while. My bad, this video is long, and I will be back soon. Thank you. I suck at ending stuff too, you know.